Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Well, Chabad published a parable on its website this week. The parable asserts that as the cosmos was being birthed, God created a monster, and God called that monster darkness. Within that monster, God placed many priceless gems. And God instructed all the creatures of the earth to come together to attack, to crush, to defeat that monster, to destroy it before the monster could destroy them. The destruction of that monstrous darkness would release the hidden rewards for all of creation. At the end of the day, as the monster is being destroyed, as darkness is being destroyed, then and only then will creation learn the very diabolical nature of its opponent. January 6, 2023 marks the second anniversary of the day on which a mob attacked the United States Capitol building. It was a day of horrific darkness. This year, January 6, 2023, also is a day of a very special full moon, known as the wolf moon. So January 6, 2023 is both a day when a monstrous darkness attacked our country, and also the day of a full, brilliant, shining moon. It would seem that, according to the parable, that our task, sacred task, is to push back against that darkness, that monster, to push it back and to crush it. And in that way, to allow new light to shine into our lives. That's a pretty reasonable challenge, isn't it? Our challenge. Our Sedra is VaYechi, the last Sedra of the book of Genesis, Genesis 47:28 to 50:26. It is a mitzvah to hold a Siyyum today. Siyyum, S-I-Y-Y-U-M. The word Siyyum means a conclusion, a celebration of both what was accomplished as we worked together over these past weeks to study the book of Genesis, and as we prepare in joy to begin our journey through the book of Exodus. So we read the last several verses of Genesis and then proclaim, CHAZAK, CHAZAK, CHAZAK. I happen to have the Plow Torah commentary right here, and I will read. Joseph then said to his kin, I am dying, but God will surely take care of you and bring you up out of this land to the land that God has promised to Abraham, Isaac, and to Jacob. Joseph adjured Israel's children, saying, God will surely take care of you. Bring up my bones from this place. Joseph died, aged 110 years. They embalmed him, and he was put into a coffin in Egypt. We say together, CHAZAK, CHAZAK, CHAZAK. Let us be strong. Let us strengthen one another. Let us be strong. Okay, now, we have moved in the book of Genesis from the very beginning was the creation of the cosmos to, at the very end, the creation of the people of Israel. We're ready now, book of Exodus, for the enslavement of the Israelites, and then for that powerful moment in Jewish history known as the Exodus from Egypt. But first, last chapters here, first comes blessings. Jacob will first bless Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and Jacob will adopt the two of them so that each of them will become a progenitor. They'll become one of the 12 tribes, Ephraim and Manasseh. And here we find the words of a very special blessing. We use it every Friday evening. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh, right here in our text. And here we find a phrase repeated every Shabbat morning in traditional services, Shabbat services. Hamalach hagoel oti mikol ra hu yivarech. May God, who has redeemed me from all evil. May God bring blessing. And then you specify the blessing. All this chapter of blessings. And then the blessing for each of the sons of Jacob. Blessings, by the way, that play some word games, even as they reflect accurate knowledge of what in fact will occur to each of the tribes, not then, but in the period of the judges. Now, this is not prophecy, last chapters in Genesis, but rather a reflection of the fact that the blessings were written long after the time of Jacob, probably written during the period of the judges. Jacob now dies. Joseph and his brothers bring their father's body back home, Canaan, to the cave of Machpelah, first purchased, as burial site by Abraham. There is a final reconciliation then between Joseph and his brothers, and then, as we read, we are told of Joseph's death. There is a powerful message in that final reconciliation, following their father's death and fearing that Joseph would now feel free to seek full retribution for that which the brothers had done to him so many years before. And what happens is that the brothers lie. The brothers lie. They invent a story that somehow right before Jacob died, Jacob told the brothers to tell Joseph to forgive his brothers for what they had done to him. That's a straight out lie. It's not in the text, not even barely. Joseph understands the brothers' well-founded guilt, fear, and his response is to draw them closer to himself in forgiveness. But wait a second. This is a great scene. But isn't truth a key building block of Jewish morality, ethics? Are we to feel comfortable celebrating the big lie? Truth is supposed to be the seal of God, the emblem of God. Do you remember the story of the creation of the golem? Emet, truth, 3 letters. Emet was written on the forehead of a lump of clay, and it became a living creature. Truth is that powerful. The authors of the Torah and the rabbis who then began intensive commentary on the Torah understood that moral behavior sometimes actually requires a well-placed lie or two. I can't even believe I'm saying that. The schools of Hillel and of Shammai argued over what one is allowed to say at the wedding of a less than fully attractive bride. School of Shammai said, tell it like it is. She is what she is. That's how you describe her. But Hillel said, every bride is beautiful on her wedding day. What's Hillel saying? There are times when a lie is called for. When Sarah laughed at being told that she would bear a son, and she then, denied. Oh no, I didn't do that. Denied that she had laughed. She lied. When God described what Sarah had said to him, Sarah had said, how can I have a child? I am old, and so forth and so on. And by the way, my husband Abraham is old too. God, when sharing the message with Abraham, forgot to mention that Sarah had mentioned that Abraham had gotten old. God didn't want to embarrass Abraham. Apparently, even in those days, the male ego was known to be incredibly fragile. So God lied, left it out, cut out part of what Sarah said. The Talmud tells us when God was about to create the first human being, many of the angels vociferously protested. They said that the descendants of Adam, if God went ahead and created Adam, would be violent and cruel, and that they would make conflict a regular part of their lives. But other angels came up and said, no. Humans would also pursue lives that would be filled with loving kindness and with justice. What's God to do? Some angels said, don't. Other angels said, there's still some good that can come of this. God picked up emet, truth, and cast it to the ground and continued to create humankind. God sacrificed truth to make room for humanity. God pushed truth aside so that human compassion could come into being. Now, there's a Hebrew phrase for saying a white lie. It's called emet shel chesed. It's kind of a play on another statement. Emet shel chesed. There is a special truth that accompanies a commitment to act with loving kindness. There is a special kind of truth when you act with loving kindness and don't exactly speak the truth. The truth of loving kindness. For example, for shalom bayit, for domestic tranquility, it is quite acceptable, and I have to tell you, a little bit recommended, to avoid speaking the naked, unadorned truth. It's sometimes okay just to let go of the truth in favor of acting kindly. Do you remember Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men? One of the great moments in film history. A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, Nicholson was saying something of universal importance, even though he was covering all kinds of terrible things. Scratch the reason. The statement, you can't handle the truth. Sometimes the truth is inappropriate. The brothers lied to Joseph. But if that lie served to bring about reconciliation and peace, then that lie is not to be condemned. Morality is like that. Nuance is part of the noblest aspects of moral philosophy. The moral life understands that using truth as a weapon is not praiseworthy. Jonathan Sacks taught that when it comes to interpersonal relations, the sages valued peace over truth, and so should we. Oh my God, have we given sanction to telling white lies? Shabbat Shalom. Have a great Siyyum. Get ready. Next week, we are entering the book of Exodus. Shabbat Shalom.